Hello again. The GroupBy method in Pandas is very useful. You can use GroupBy method on a Pandas data frame to process your data frame for three important objectives. First, you would want to split your data frame based on the GroupBy columns. Data will be grouped and available for you so you could apply various methods, either built-in or custom functions created by you to individual groups or the combination of groups. Finally, you would want to combine all these results together and compose the final data frame which can be used for further processing. In this tutorial, we are going to cover GroupBy extensively. We will learn various tips and tricks which will make you very effective to use GroupBy method wherever it's applicable. So let's get started. The Jupyter notebook we are going to follow in this tutorial is located at public code repo and in GroupBy folder within Pandas folder. As you could see here, the GroupBy tutorial with Titanic dataset is the notebook which we already have opened here. So why you would want to use GroupBy method on your data frame? So in general, if you are using GroupBy, you have these three requirements, either all of three or one or more of these three. Very first one, you have your data in your data frame which is divided into one or more groups. So you want to split the data into those given groups. Second, you want to apply one or more function in each group independently. You could apply those functions combined, or you could apply any function either custom or built-in to those values which comes within one or more groups. Finally, you want to combine the result and compiling all that data into the final data structure on the final data frame. You could use GroupBy for processing your data in the given frame with three different modes: split, apply, and combine. This Jupyter notebook is inspired by this Pandas GroupBy tutorial, which I found very informative. I would suggest anyone and everyone to please click this link and review that notebook. I did add various other information to this Jupyter notebook, which will be very helpful for those who wants to learn GroupBy function or method in Pandas even more depth. First thing first, I am importing Pandas and NumPy modules. I will be using this remote URL to read this CSV, and the data frame in our memory is this. So this data frame is available in Pandas. As you could see, very common data set. As you could see here, there are various values we have here which are in groups. New line, df of sex. Here you could see there are male female values, and if you would want to unique them, you can say give me the unique value in sex. Here you could see this. If similar to that, if you would want to get more unique values in the P class, as you could see here, P class also has the unique value. And if you could see here, the embarked could have also the unique value. So there are, you could see some of the values are empty here, and we can also look into one more category where the values are unique. See here, so the df of cabin unique, there is about, and if you say size, 148 values within the cabin are unique out of 891. So we could actually put that way, because cabin, you could figure it out how many people are in those cabin. Next, we are going to select one or more of these columns and try to set the group by. So here you could see I'm using this sex column and creating a df group by sex. So df.groupby, so dataframe.groupby, and giving the column name. So we have got this group by sex. And if we try to understand what this group by sex is, you would see that it is an object, which is DataFrameGroupBy object. It means we have to process this object to get the values out of it. If you want to know the type, which is we have already seen, is a DataFrameGroupBy object. The next question come in the mind, if it is the GroupBy object, then how many groups are there? And that's how you could figure it out, that it has two groups. When we were looking into the unique, it also gives that, okay, these are the two keys we have. So which goes to, these are the number of groups. And here you could see that for this given data frame, this df group by sex object has these groups, male and female, and the indexes of the rows which either belong to female or the male group item. So this group, here you could see the size tells that for each individual group item the total number of records. Next, let's use this. So what this first is, it actually shows the very first record which is available in this group by object based on all the group items, and the last method shows the very last record within that. If we want to get the data frame which is related with individual groups, here you could see that I can get, this is the data frame which has all the values related with single group item which is female. Same thing, if I want to get this thing for the male, I could create exact same thing, or here I just call it for male. It's for male, and that will be used for us to see the data frame which has all the male values. And here you could see that 577 records related with male and 314 rows related with female. So combining them, you will have total number of 891 records which we have here. So after we understood that this object has everything what we need with regard to group name sex, as an engineer or data scientist, you would want to know what these keys are, how I can really access male or female. So if I want to know these keys and I could access them as a variable, that would be wonderful. Here you could see that for this object the keys are male and female. So in order to get those keys, what I have done is that I have taken this and stored into an object, and this became the dictionary keys. As you could see here, the group keys, so keys is basically the dictionary keys object. It has two values, and if type is definitely the dictionary keys, which we can see here. Now we can print out all these keys or the group items in this group by keys object, which is a dictionary keys. If I want to get the keys, as you could see here, I have got a list of keys, and once I have keys, I could get them by their index. So this is the way you could get all the keys related with your group by object. If you would want to process these keys in a way, you have this way. So you can say that this is your object, which you have already seen earlier, this object, then you are converting them to a list and then dictionary, and then by passing the particular key you can get that particular data frame. So here the key 0 is female, and this line is actually returning you the female data frame, 314 rows. If you want to get the male data frame this way, you could use this and you call it 1 and you could get the male data frame. Here is another way you could use these keys. You are iterating them, and when you iterate them you can use the getGroup method and then you pass the key, and this is the way you are getting the key. The result of this call is not the data frame as designed this way, but you are getting the exact same information. Similar to that, if you are using here, still the result is same. So after you have got the keys related with your GroupBy object, let's try to process some more data. So we have already see this. I think we have already passed these things. So I will just quickly pass them. Now we have seen the GroupBy object related with sex. Here I am creating another group and my column name is P class now. Here you see this df group P class is the new object which is type of DataFrameGroupBy. The number of groups are 3 here, and this is the GroupBy object, and this is the n group object. So you have n groups and n group, which is a one single group within this n groups. For each of these 3 classes, the total number of records in each class. As you could see here, this groups method gives all these 3 group items and the index of each record which belongs to any of these given 3 classes, first or the last. So depending on 3 classes, we could see the first 3 records, and here you could get the ID. So here you see that it is the index 1, so 0, 1, record number 2, 10, 9, 10, and it will be 0 and 1. So these are the 0 base index and these are the passenger ID. Similar to this, if you are looking into the last record, very last record, here is 890, so it should be 891, 886, 887, 889, 890. So that's how you could get first and last record for a different class group. Here we have seen sex and P class, and if you are learning with this Jupyter notebook, please go ahead and create few more so you could learn it thoroughly. Now we are going to see how many methods are available on this GroupBy object, because this is our GroupBy object. So here you could see that for this df GroupBy sex and df GroupBy P class, these are the total number of methods. So it does not matter whether you have 2 classes, 3 classes, n classes, all the methods are available same way to your GroupBy object. So this was my objective to show you by using 2 different GroupBy object. Here you could see that we have data frame and we are creating the GroupBy sex. As you could see here that when we were creating this df group P class, how did we create it here? If you see here that we use df GroupBy P class, something similar here. As you see, df GroupBy sex, and as you call here, you could see that all the columns related with this GroupBy can be accessible to us. So how we could verify that? So one way we could verify is that we can use this P class object here, and I will show you a new cell, and if I try to press dot, and after that I will press tab, and as you could see here, these are the columns. So you see age is the column, aggregate is the built-in function here. If you look into the cabin is the column here, and you can embarked is the column here. Then you could see that name is the column here. So all the columns are also available depending on which column can use the aggregate function and which column cannot. Okay, that was my objective for you to show here. So here you can see that for this one I'm using age and calling to get the maximum from the age value. Here you can see I got the maximum age, or I could use this object which we have already created, and they both are giving us exact same result. Same thing if you want to use the individual value with the same object. Here we are using this object get group and looking for male and see what is the maximum value and what is the maximum value for the female, and you can get that way. If we want to do this thing and we want to say let's try to do the min, you can actually call here and say I want min here. You can get minimum value. Same thing for the same, if you would want to get, you can say that mean, and here you can get mean value here. Also, if you would want to use the median, you can get the median value as seen here. So any of the aggregator function you could use top of the numeric column. One example is, what if we try to use name and max, and you will see what's going to happen here. So if we were here, let's do and say name. As you could see here, it's a series group by, and then if you try to say what is the max here, longest name available here, and here is the male. If we try to use same with min, you will be seeing the smallest name available. That min max work with string column. Next, what if we try to use this and try to say give the median? Will not going to work because no numeric types to aggregate. That's what I wanted to show you, that depending on which function it will work or it may not work, and the error will be we have already seen this. So depending on which function you want, you can apply that to the individual group item values. Now we could aggregate all these values depending on group or multiple groups. So you see here that we are still using this, and rather than using one or two values, we are actually calling multiple aggregators. And as you could see here, for the female, these aggregators which we have called earlier, we can get all together, male and female. If we want to change the column names, we could use sex max, sex min, and this is how you are going to get. So this is, you are using a custom column name here, and you can still get those values. One more thing I wanted to show you here is that if you are using this and the third option, you can actually call the count here, and you see that it is not going to get count, but if you say you actually need here count, and count will be available for you, which is similar to that way. So depending on you want to define your name, you could call the name what you want to call, and you will get total count female and total count male. Next, you could call a custom aggregator function. So here you can see that there is a new function called categorize, and categorize is using the given value of mean. If the mean is greater than 29, return true, otherwise false. And here you could see that these two values we were getting max and mean, and we are also creating a new column for each individual category and applying that so that we could get either true or false. And here we are using for group by. Same function we can actually use for the individual column here. And as you could see here that we are not using both, but we are only getting this for male, and here you could see the 80 mean and true. Similarly, you can get this for female. If you are not using this, and if you are using this object directly here, similar to that, then you can say this method, and then you are getting all together of this age, and that will be exactly this. So whether you call this or this, they both are identical, because this object is basically pulled from this. Next, we are using a lambda method and directly applying to GroupBy, and here you can see that we have max, mean, and we are also using a lambda value here, which is calling same mean function. If we want to make this lambda little more bigger, this is the first value, second value, third value, and then after that you can actually add here again, and you can say I want to use count, and count is there. If you decide that you want to make this more enhanced value, you can say, okay, I already have the count, max, and I would like to have the min. I would also like to have the median. And you can see here that we have count, min, median is also added here with this result. So you could apply the lambda along with your GroupBy. Now, as you see here, now you are not making a call to age here. You are making this mean method to the overall GroupBy sex, and all the numeric columns where that mean will work, the result will be available for you. However, if you take the same and try to call it max, you will see here that in that scenario, the max is going to give some error because it may not be applicable to the every column. Similar to that, if you try to apply min, it may not be able to work on all columns. So mean, we picked all the numeric column and generated the female and male sex specific results. As we see, min and max did not work, mean work. What about median? And as you could see here, the median does work for, but remember, when we try the max, it has a very different result on both numeric column and the non-numeric or string column. So that's the reason we have seen that min and max was not working, min and max, and I will just say not work. Next, if you want to aggregate these two function on this GroupBy object, you can definitely do it. And here you could see for each column, the mean and median is available wherever it is applicable, and that's how you are going to get this result. Next, we are going to use the lambda and applying this lambda to generate a function, and then we are going to call that function and transform our data. So here the function is the given x minus x mean, and then this total is divided by the x of standard deviation. So we have this method, and now we are calling this function with both transform and both apply, because with transform and apply you can call the function. Here you could see that for all 891 rows we have applied with standardization. Same thing, we have applied same method by apply, and then in both cases the results are identical. If you want to make it very simple function, you could say I would like to have the standard deviation. You have ability to call this standard deviation here and call which is equals to standard deviation, and you call standard. Here is your function. Now you take this and apply it here, and your method is here, and there you go. So standard deviation, that is for whole. We apply this same to here, and here we have apply, and here you could see for the female, for the male, everywhere. That's the standard deviation. Next, we are using GroupBy filter data. Here you can see that we have df GroupBy, and the size tells that depending on which cabin, how many people are there in that cabin. Here you see total 147 results we have, and if you remember very early we were looking into this, we have found that these are the unique values. So if you are just making a call on the GroupBy cabin and then you are saying the size, that size is giving you exactly the number of items in individual column, and that's how you got it. As you could see here, if you want to filter that the total number of people who there are 4 or more, so these are the people who were living 4 or more. So G6 is the cabin. As you could see here, there is a G6 which is the class 3, as you could see here, and there are the other. So this is how you could filter the data using the GroupBy. Next, GroupBy combining with multiple categories. So in order to see this example, we are going to create a subset of this data frame and trying to process it. So we are taking these 4 columns and creating the subset, and as you could see here, for 891 rows we are only using these 4 columns. Now we are creating a GroupBy on sex and P class and showing its mean. So for every female and male class there are 3 classes each. For sex there are classes, and then we are seeing the mean of this age, and this fair. Next we are using the 5 classes, and I have added survived also, and here you could see that we have a subset which is again 5 of these classes, and as you could see here that survived is also available. And if we are trying to creating this GroupBy on multiple categories, here we are looking for mean. As you could see here, for each class there is survived is also added, and as you see here, this is how you will be able to see the results. So we have added 2 or more GroupBy categories, and then we are combining this data, and that's how we are getting the mean value for the age and fair. If you are using this, in some places you might have seen that the same function is written as by equals. So it means that you are providing the column names here, and result will be exactly the same. For the 5 column, as you could see here, df subset 5. So df subset 5, we are using the mean if you would want to get this. So df subset, this subset 5, we are just creating a data frame based on this. As you could see here, this is the same, and for this they both, here you can see that it shows for this data frame, which is the result of mean. So there are total 12. So 3, 6 to the 12, and that's how you got the result. So 3, 6 to the 12. Subset 5, which is subset 5 is this 891 rows. So that's how the 891 rows are composed into this result. If you want to flatten this record, df subset 5, and this is how you flatten the record. So this one which was designed in this way, because if you look into this object type you might be interested of, this is a data frame and we need to reset the index. So it already has these index built into, so we need to reset this index, and this is how you are going to get. If you are trying to make this directly, as you see here, and that's how you will be able to. So you are creating the group by, this by and as index false, so do not show them as these indexes, and that's how you will be able to get this directly here. One thing we need to learn, that whenever we are trying to see the group by results, the pandas automatically removes the empty values. It does not include, and that's what how we are going to validate that. So as you could see here, the subset 5, these are the top 5 records, and if you see here that in this, first I just want you to make sure that your subset 5 is actually this whole 891 record with 5 column. So we are just seeing the top 5 records here, and here we are just checking that in this scenario we do not have any value of sex, which is empty. Age does have 177 not valued column. It's the same thing we have. Now from 100 to 200 rows, these sex column we are making empty, and as you could see here, now we know that there is NA, yes, true, 100. So we have applied that, and now we are generating the mean. So if you look into some of these values which are applicable, so if you look into the female 1 0, the value may be here. Now the results are updated because most of the values are different. Now 100 of these records does not have any value because we have made them 0. Here is something I wanted to show you, that if you are using, you might get this error. It's a known issue, and it's still, that issue is not fixed here. If you would want to create the graph here, you just need to call the matplotlib in line, and that will show you the graph for these 4 classes. Here you could see for the female and male, based on sex, the graph is created. If you want to create for individual item, you could create the graph here. Same thing, if you want to create this graph on other objects, you can create, and other example will be P class. As you could see, for the P class, this graph is used that way. If you want to create this graph, because here you have survived as fair, if you want to use the fair, again, fair is really very large subset, so it's not really going to be very nice. But if we try to convert this to survived, so depending on which particular column you want to create the graph with, you could apply here. If we want to create with cabin, we need to get df dot group by, and we could use cabin. So this is the cabin, and we can say, can we create the cabin plot? And as you see here for the cabin, so there are total 147 items. So for each cabin, and here we are creating the graph, and as you could see here, this will be very large graph because it's created for all 147 columns. So I just wanted to show you that GroupBy can be applicable to all the columns where you have data, but you need to make sure that the column you are selecting does have unique values, and they are unique enough that you could process them as needed. So that's all. In this tutorial, we have covered GroupBy extensively. We used the Titanic dataset to start our GroupBy learning, and we used various columns to create single column, multiple column GroupBy object, and then we used various methods, aggregators, to split and combine the data together. I hope you enjoyed the content in this tutorial, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Thank you. That's all, my friends. If you have enjoyed our content, please like it, share it, subscribe it. And finally, please remember, be good and do good. Thank you.